Hey, beautiful souls, Topaz here. Welcome back to another episode of Getting Under the Skin. Today I want to talk about the Vision Pro goggles, spatial computing they call it, and how that affects us as humans in humanity. Two bottom lines. A, I think it's going to definitely change our connection to physical space. It's going to change our connection to physical space. Physical proximity is going to shift dramatically, if not already. And I'll tell you more about that. Second, it's going to shift our connection to death and what death means. When I first put on VR goggles in 2015, I realized the future is not what it used to be. It's going to totally shift. Physical proximity is going to shift. What do I mean? You put on these goggles, and at first thought, you might be thinking you're seeing through the goggles, but no, you're actually seeing a video of what's around you. So already there's a veneer of reality because you're videoing what the reality is, yet it feels so real. Our sense to space is shifting, where the physical space is not going to be as important as the digital space. So while you might be physically distant, your proximity physically will be that much distant, you could be digitally close. I could be in a room with someone, feel as though they're there. All of us are there. We take out the goggles and I'm in Patagonia. I'm in the mountains. So what's going to happen when we take those off and actually be in the presence of someone else? It's going to be that much more amplified and exacerbated. How are we reacting to that? How are we going to react to actually being in nature when we're not seeing it through a screen that feels so real, 4K, 8K or whatnot? That when we actually sit in real nature, it'll be that much more realistic and deep. Much like when you came out of quarantine and you met someone in real life, it was that much more real and exhausting because more of your body was activated. More of your conscientiousness was activated. So that just leads to the question of where are you going to be spending most of your time and with whom? Who will you be physically proximate to? What things will you be physically proximate to? And then what is your digital proximity going to be like? They might be two separate, completely different worlds. So take that into account as you consider the future. Secondly, is our relationship to death. In these Vision Pro goggles, you can film things in 3D and see them in the goggles. And you're basically on the lawn watching your father and you fish, or your father and your grandson fishing, or doing whatever. It's that much more real. Previous generations, they would remember their ancestors through stories, through the memory of their mind's eye, what they remember in their head, or an old antiquated picture that was turning yellow or brown over time. Future generations will actually see and hear in 3D their ancestors. I mean, I myself bought the i15 Pro phone that shot with the 3D just so I could film my father who's 86, and I know in 10 years, likely he won't be around, or at least in the same condition, so that my kids, when they're 10, 15, that they will have these kind of more realistic expressions of him, memories of him. They'll be that much realer. And that gives you a different sense of connection. Then you add on the layer of AI, right? Large language models, but for someone who's currently putting in information of every podcast they've done, everything they've written, every kind of interaction they've had, whatever it is, you can have an AI speaking through a 3D kind of image of them. So then how dead do they feel? How much more realistic is that memory? And therefore our relationship to death will shift. Our relationship to memories will shift. Take it or leave it. Just my 2 cents. I know a lot of people are talking about it, but our connection to physical proximity is shifting drastically, as will our connection to death, the memories of our ancestors. Thank you so much for your time. Please let me know your thoughts. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, just let me know, leave it in the comments, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much. Take care.